So I thought I'd just keep it real today. I want to tell you about how my gambling addiction progressed from the time that I started gambling until the time that I stopped. Over the course of 6 years, I spent between 6 to 8 hours a day gambling almost every single day. My days were filled with huge up and down swings of emotion and finances, and it was a really, really bad way to be living. I don't want you to have to live the same way that I was living, so I want to tell this story as a cautionary tale so that if you feel like you're experiencing some of these symptoms, you're relating to what I'm saying, then maybe you can take a step back and reevaluate your relationship to gambling. My name is Rob, and I'm a recovering compulsive gambler. I made my last bet on November the 12th of 2022, and now I've made it my mission to talk about gambling addiction and recovery here online to help you to recover from a gambling addiction faster than I did. If the topic of gambling addiction is of interest to you, you're in the right spot. Please smash that subscribe button and stay up to date on the content that I create here, as I want to spread this message all around the world that you can recover from a gambling addiction if you want to. So when I first started gambling, I started with daily fantasy sports, and then I moved into sports betting with like a small sports book. And what I had come to find was that I thought I was really good at sports. Like I knew a lot about sports because I had played them and I'd been watching them my whole life. So I figured, I know all this stuff. I've watched all these games. I know the players. I know their stats. I should be able to win money with this, right? The problem was that I wasn't considering that past performance doesn't imply future results. This is the exact reason why anyone that's trying to sell you sports picks is scamming you. It's because that no matter what you think might happen, the smallest things can change the outcome of a game. Maybe a player tied his shoes wrong. Maybe it was 1 degree warmer out than expected. You never know what's going to cause a game to result in a different scoreline than you predicted. But in the beginning, I won. And that's what really threw me off, right? I figured, man, I can get better at this. If I'm already this good, if I'm already winning when I go to place bets now, imagine how good I'll be a couple years from now. When you're 18, and you're making a good amount of money on bets, you're making money so much faster than you are working an entry level job. I mean, when I was 18, I was driving pizza, driving Chinese food, working at an Applebee's. And to be able to sit on my phone, hit a couple buttons, watch the same games that I loved so much, and make money, it was a dream come true. So for a very long time, I actually wanted to be a professional sports gambler. To me, that just meant that I could spend my days living my life as I pleased, and not having to worry about working a full-time job because I could make money faster by just gambling on games. And that mindset really lasted for a while, even after I was taking losses. So over the course of the first year, I had more wins than I had losses, but as time progressed, I ended up losing a ton of money. Not only did I lose a ton of money, but I lost a ton of time as well. As I had mentioned, if I was gambling for 6 to 8 hours a day for 6 years, that's 2 years worth of 24-hour days over the course of 6 years. A third of all my time was spent gambling, and honestly, probably more than that because I was always thinking about the bet or thinking about where to get money, or God forbid, thinking about hiding it from the people around me. So my mindset was just on gambling 24/7, and it would only get worse as time went on because as I continued to gamble more, I had to gamble higher amounts and place a higher volume of bets each day to get that same rush that I had in the beginning from just one bet. Whereas originally I started with a couple $100s worth of bets on Warriors basketball games, I ended up spending all of my money every time that I had it on whatever game was on. It went from 1 bet a day to 100 by the end. And that maybe happened over the course of a few years, but the slow progression that built up over time, I gradually built my tolerance to the point where I had to place this number of bets where I felt like there was no point in placing a bet at all. One thing that gambling addicts might often feel or tell you, they stopped respecting the value of money. And when that happened to me, I would have these big wins and feel numb about it. I'd also feel pretty numb about the losses until I gave it a few minutes for it to sink in. The money was just the fuel by which I continued to stay in action. So, what I want you to take from that is money has a ton of value. Money is value. That's what it is naturally. But when you're gambling, you're not thinking about it like that. You're viewing it as in game currency, you're viewing it as credits, or you're viewing it as the credit that you have on the sports book to keep placing bets. You need to reestablish your connection with money. That happens with time away from the bet. But over the course of my 6 years, I respected it less and less and less. If you feel like that's what you're going through right now and that you're numb to wins and losses, now is the best time to take a step back because continuing to go down this path will result in more numbness, but still you feel like you have to keep betting higher and higher because that's the natural progression of things for a gambling addict. There's millions of us out there that are struggling with a gambling addiction right now, which is why I love making this content because there's a lot of people that don't know that helps out there. I go to a group meeting every single week, and that's what's made the biggest difference in my recovery. People will ask me all the time, how did you stop gambling? How can I stop gambling? And the number one thing that I tell you is to go and talk to other people who are gambling addicts. Because for so long, I thought that I was the only gambling addict in the world. I thought I was alone. It was me against everyone else. None of my friends had this problem. None of my family had this problem. I was the only one that couldn't stop. When I went to one of those group meetings, I found out that that was not the case at all. There's actually millions of people that are struggling out there, and there's millions of people that could benefit from a conversation with someone else who's struggling. When I make content, it not only helps to educate my audience, but it helps to educate myself. I learn more about gambling addiction each and every day, and that's what you'll get personally by going to a group meeting. You don't have to air out your problems online, share it with the whole world that you're a gambling addict, but going into a room and admitting, hey, I have an issue with this, really does make a difference. Because not only do you get the accountability from telling other people that, telling them the last time that you placed a bet, but you learn from their experience. If a guy's been clean from gambling for 10 years, he's learned something about staying clean. It didn't happen by accident. There's something about his strategy that works. And if you can take pieces of that and apply it to your own life, that's where the benefit comes in for gambling addiction recovery, which is why I share everything that's working for me. If you're looking right now and you're not quite sure where to start on how to recover from a gambling addiction, check down below in the description. I put together a PDF guide filled with free resources that can help you to recover from a gambling addiction faster than I did. Again, all of this is free because it's not worth selling recovery. I want to see everyone do well. And what's working for me might not work for you, but you'll never know until you give it a try. People come to me all the time and they say, I've tried everything. And I'll say, did you go to a group meeting? They'll say, no. Did you self-exclude from the casino? Did you voluntarily ban yourself from play there? Well, no. Did you turn over control of your finances to a family member so you weren't tempted to spend? Well, no. So what did you try? Well, I tried just not gambling. Unfortunately, it takes a little bit more than willpower alone to quit gambling, because any temptations that come along the way are going to have you right back into the same old patterns if you're not building yourself up cumulatively. You need to be working on your character, going to group meetings and helping others in that group as well as helping yourself. You need to be doing the self-exclusions, because if you put some distance between yourself and the casino, it makes a huge difference. This is what I was missing in my recovery when I had my relapse on November the 12th. I had not properly self-excluded, and after about 9 months, I just went back to the bet when I got a temptation. You have to be building up all of these layers, or you're setting yourself up for failure and delaying the inevitable. You need to be actively recovering. There's no quick fix. There's no blink and it's fine. What you need to be doing is putting in the work each and every day to beat that day. It's not about not gambling forever. It's about not gambling today. And the number one way that you get started is by going to those group meetings. You will learn everything that you need to know by talking to someone else who's done it already. If you want to learn how to cook, you go to a chef. If you want to learn how to sing, you go to a singing coach. If you want to learn how to recover from a gambling addiction, you need to go and find people who have done it. Trying to do it all on your own is a complete disservice to yourself, and you're only going to be wasting your own time and potential. I'll leave you with this note. You need to know yourself. Not everyone out there is a gambling addict. I know that. In fact, the majority of people aren't gambling addicts, and they can go to a casino and not have it ruin their lives. But if you're like me, and you're struggling, and you can't stop once you start, there's no need to continue to go down that path just because your friends are doing it, your family's doing it, or because it's what you've always done. Gambling is not for everyone. It's marketed to everyone, but there's a small portion of us that we will ruin our lives if we keep going back to the bet. You need to know if that is you. Don't lie to yourself. You're only going to make your life worse if you keep going back to the bet as a gambling addict. I quit gambling on November the 12th of 2022, and I will never be going back to the bet. I'm confident in my recovery journey, but I'm never comfortable. I need to always be putting in the work to live a happier and healthier life. Everything that I do, I share with you in hopes that you can use it too in your journey, and you really can live a life without the chaos of gambling. All of that happens one day at a time.